Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is another video about why I won. There's points in this video that are not in the other video. I'm shooting for about 15 minutes, so let's get right into this. Point number 1. Those who cheat me, especially all who reproduce, are no good, dirty, rotten scoundrels. They are quote-unquote low down. So who is above who? Keep in mind they play a stupid who is above who game. That's why I say it that way. So how did they win when they're low down, dirty, no good, rotten scoundrels? Point number 2. The billionaire class are all seen as weird and immature. The females who date them are all seen as gold diggers, and their children are seen as spoiled. Now, I think that goes without saying whether that's the case or not. Point number 3, in reality, right? Point number 3. Let me say it another way, because I tell the truth in reality, whether or not they're just seen that way, or whether or not they're actually that way, is what I'm saying. Point number 3. The upper middle class have taken on the way of the wig-wearing oppressors in formal attire of old. They clearly are at odds with me already, like other groups, as they do not rally to stop society from persecuting me, and they seek to cheat me while blaming the weird-looking upper class for society's problems. Okay, so there's a bunch of people who are upper-class people, and some of them try to look weirder than others, like Bezos, what have you, and some of them try to look more normal and try to pretend their genes are superior. Okay. No one can miss the fact that they tend to get the more attractive females while trying to pretend to love them. They also pretend to be decent and pretend to protect them. Females that worship the devil argue that they are the full package, right? That these females are the full package, the guys they're trying to date are the full package. That's what they argue. To someone of average intelligence and above, they must be the main symbols of failing life, as they are false idols. They try harder to seem ideal than the Jeff Bezos types of the world. Think of the devil in a suit. Or was the Shakespeare quote, right? The Prince of Darkness is a total gentleman, or he's a handsome devil. A lot of things in popular culture overkill that I'm right. Point number 4. Nerds are defined as worthless, foolish, and contemptible by the nerds who wrote the dictionary. Also, they are described as boringly studious. So whether you're talking about the rich nerds who are making these calls, or the rich guys in social clubs who try to seem more presentable, we'll say, than nerds do. They try to seem more stylish and well-cultured and sharp. Okay, you see that obviously, even together, they're not worth, a fraction of my worth. I'm infinitely greater than they are. You'll see that I'm right by the time I'm done with this. Okay. Point number 5. They are complicit with many evils. There are so many that I will list them 3 at a time. I think I did this in another video as well. Mass rape, mass murder, mass exploitation are the first 3. Point number 6. The next 3 are mass assault, mass drugging, and mass technological harassment. Point number 7. Next we have mass idolatry, mass assault, and mass deception. Also, don't forget terrorism and mass deportation. Point number 8. When they could have just built a region for them, it's pretty straightforward. Let's not forget mass child molestation, mass obstruction, and misleading the youth. And there are many more things that they do. 7. Their shallowness and failure to have the life principles intact overkill that I want. Where is their maturity, timing, sense, wisdom, righteousness, justice, heart, will, focus, determination, intensity, etc. And of course, I mean the true form of these things, morally precise forms of these things, which are the true forms of these things, right? Morally precise wisdom, morally precise justice, what have you. Point number 8. Even if we remove 90% of the selfishness and arrogance of the governing class, they would still be clearly disgraced. They've even cut their offspring off from God and reality. So when we look at the arrogant people who oppress you, if you remove 90% of their arrogance and selfishness, you can still see that I'm far more righteous than they are. If you remove 99% of it. So 1 year in my life is greater than 99 years in their life. So I've won in terms of life path. So when we clash, who are they clashing with? Part of the reason why I'm greater than they are because they were dumb enough to clash with me in the first place, because their life paths, their ways, their way of thinking, what have you, their state of being, their life worth, okay, allowed them to do something so low down and no good and dirty and rotten to do. Making them low down, dirty, no good, rotten scoundrel. And of course, they make it harder for me to say this video. Is that the action of someone who thinks that I'm wrong or someone who thinks that I'm right? Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. Point number 9. When someone is a rich brat, they look like an idiot with bad genes. Point number 10. It is safe to say that most adults would say that a grown version of Harry Potter and the Simpson culture are both stupid. Point number 11. It is safe to say that most people know that the college frats appear shallow, corny, stupid, childish, weird, and not worthwhile. You know, there's a lot of other words we're going to get to later when we get to point 20. Point number 12. It is safe to say that most people still think of jocks and sluts as stupid. You know, they say dumb jock, dumb bitch, dumb hoe, dumb slut, what have you. Point number 13. It is safe to say that every intelligent person with sense thinks that it is stupid to prevent the rise of a righteous culture, especially in order to maintain mankind's trajectory or to keep things the way they are. The way they are suck, and the trajectory, as far as we can tell, sucks. We're now on day 2 of President Trump's presidency, and there is no solid sign that there's a bright future. There's some executive orders that have been signed, okay, but there's no solid sign. When we look at what the course could be and what the course is, it's looking bad. Well, we'll see, right? I guess most of you will see, because I'll probably be out of here, out of this country, one way or another, by February 8th, as it stands right now. Point number 11. Okay, I went over that. Point number 14 is where we're on. Excuse me. Point number 14. It is self-destructive when someone designs the system in a way that is designed to get them to derive pleasure from hurting people unfairly. Right? To use, confuse, and abuse people for the ruse is self-destructive. Wickedness burns like a fire. Their backsliding will rebuke them, as the Bible says. 15. We are not competing for the same females/women. For example, Belle, the true form of Belle from the Beauty and the Beast, is an adult, is a mature woman, regardless of race, is greater than Jessica Rabbit. But a lot of people don't think so. And that's just one small example, one quick example of why we're not competing for the same women. Women who value righteousness, they don't choose wealth and conformity, they choose righteousness. Point number 16. No one in their right mind would want to limit females to what they were in the 90s or keep them on the trajectory that they are on now. Okay, so as you look at this thing, this thing reflects the failure of the groups who have chosen the same path as the governing class. It represents the governing class failure. Okay, these points really help illustrate their failure. Even the fact that I'm struggling on my words while I'm fumed right now illustrates their failure. It screams that they failed. Everyone believes me. No one believes them. I've been making videos for a long time now, 15 years, starting in 2009. If I live till August, it'll be 16 years. And there's not a shred of evidence that people believe them and magically don't believe me. They believe me. They don't believe them. We see that time and time and time again. I have never, in the over 15 years I've been making videos, not once have I seen someone make a logical and coherent argument that is doubting any of my key points. Not even once. But countless people have agreed with me. Countless. Okay. Point number 7. The whole time they knew I had and have, point number 17. Is that what I said? Point number 17. The whole time they knew I had and have the upper hand, but they lack wisdom and self-control. Point number 18. they should consider living in a doghouse, in a dungeon, with a dunce hat that says worthless and inferior on their heads. Now, why is this one of my points? Because they kept coming at me on some bullshit. They said, you should consider changing your point of view. Why the hell would I do that? Okay? It's far more logical to tell you people, the best of you people, that you should consider living in a doghouse, in a dungeon, with a dunce hat that says worthless and inferior. It's far more logical to suggest that to you than for you to suggest to me, the top martial artist ever possible, that I should change my point of view. Why the hell would I give up my dignity and self-respect like that? It's just stupid. Point number 19. A small bag of gold is greater than a large bag of dirt at face value. A short righteous life is greater than a long life of a conformist, especially those who are in the spirit of persecuting the most righteous person that ever lived. Point number 20. The characteristics do them in, right? So when we look at their characteristics, what do we see? When we look at me, you see perfection. The top martial arts ever possible. I've mastered the life principles. Insight, sense, wisdom, righteousness, justice, heart, dedication, will, determination, perseverance, focus, and on and on and on. When we look at their characteristics, what do we get? They're all on the spectrum of these things. Careless, carefree, ditzy, senseless, selfish, shallow, greedy, petty, inconsiderate, immature, shady, naive, geeky, odd, nerdy, wicked, stupid, rude, arrogant, undisciplined, worthless, ruthless, slutty, sleazy, clumsy, racist, deranged, basic, thieving, thieves, reckless, mentally weak, weak-willed, cowardly, depraved, aimless, and more. I forgot to write down there was like 3 or 4 other ones, but you should get the point by now. Point number 21. The word waste is a play on words for waist set. Now, if Horus is the top martial artist ever, right? A deity of Royal African Falcon martial arts. Okay, in its true form, there's many people who had many ideas of what Horus is. There's one true form, right? There's a Royal African Falcon martial artist, the ideal man, the pharaoh, the fair leader, the fair reproductive cycle. Okay, the fair son of God, the Skywalker, Sky Law Core. Okay, the Sky Law, the law of the heavens, the law of God, greater than the law of man, on and on and on. Falcon vision, faster and master, Godspeed, light speed, fasting, lightning, and the sun, and light speed. The sun is a symbol of God's martial power. Versus wasting your life, going the way of Set, whose Greek equivalent is Zeus, whose Roman equivalent is Jupiter. The Babylonian eagle. The American eagle can either obey God through me, okay, and be redeemed in time. Okay, now keep in mind that after my flesh dies, they can't be redeemed. Okay. Or, no one should reproduce no matter what. I've said this many times. Okay, just because the state disagrees with me as their stated argument doesn't mean they should suppress the argument, right? Freedom of speech matters most when it's Christ telling you something you don't want to hear. Something that important. But yeah, or they could just be a Babylonian eagle of Zeus, which is wasting life. Waste, set, waste. Now ask yourselves, are you wasting your life? Are you just living propaganda, psychology, theater arts, ritual madness, satanic ritual abuse lives? Or are you obeying God through me? 22. The forever principle. I have been, I am, and will be exerting power over them forever and ever. Now some of you might ask, well, how are you? Because I'm in God's spirit. And 189,000 people die every day. And I'm in God's spirit. And whatever their limitations are, I'm limiting them. I'm limiting them in an infinite amount of ways. By being in God's spirit, being the one God set apart to lead them. Why they're doing insignificant bitch shit to get at me in comparison. Let's go to Isaiah verse 9:11. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 11. But the Lord has strengthened Rezin's foes against them and has spurred their enemies on. Armenians from the east and Philistines from the west have devoured Israel with open mouth. Yet for all this his anger is not turned away, his hand is still upraised. What is Isaiah 9 about? Among other things, it's about the destruction of the enemies of God as their wickedness devours them. He goes on to talk about how they have betrayed and they are devouring their offspring. They have betrayed their offspring and they're devouring their life worth. So yes, I won. Eternal pleasures await me at God's right hand. even according to their own book, the Bible. And they are eating the life worth of their offspring while going a way that is a waste set, on their way to rotten hell forever and ever. Thank you.